So as many of you know, a little bit ago, I switched my kernel that I was daily driving to the Zen kernel. And for about the last week and a half-ish, I've been using a different kernel. So instead of like window manager hopping or distro hopping like other people do, I've been kernel hopping. So at the recommendation of some, it was on Odyssey, someone commented about this kernel. They'd recommended CachyOS and TKG. So CachyOS, going through like the AUR, I looked for CachyOS and it wasn't there, but TKG was there. And so for those that don't know, TKG doesn't do just one variety of kernel. TKG has different options for the kernel that you can pick. So, and in order to install this, I actually had to use their tool to compile it, and then it made a package that Pac-Man could install with, so that my video card would actually work. Because if I installed it from like the chaotic AUR, it wouldn't work. If I tried to install it from the regular AUR, wouldn't work. So I had to go through, download their tool, and then it worked. So I could have my video card working to test Kenshi with the TKG kernel. So going over it, so by default, TKG zenifies the kernel, so it uses the Zen tweaks in the kernel, and then the other things on top of that you pick. You go through, the process is pretty simple. You clone the repo, you go into it, you edit your customization CFG for any like stuff, make package.si. Make package.si basically runs the configurator to do any other fine-tuning configuration through like different menu choices, and then compiles the kernel. It actually doesn't take that long. I thought it would take longer after having tried to install Gentoo before and compiling the kernel and letting that laptop sit overnight to compile the kernel. So it didn't take that long. It does zenify by default, like I said. But what you run into is actually the alternative schedulers that it uses. So you've got CFS by default, which is completely fair scheduler, which is vanilla kernel sources. But then it's got Project C, PDS, and BMQ, which I believe this is what I currently have set up, I believe, is BMQ, which is like burst something. It's like I think it's, no, that's Bohr, I think, actually. But it might have mildly better performance on Kenshi. I think so playing Kenshi previously on the Zen kernel, I would watch YouTube at the same time, and I think I get marginally better performance with it. Like, I can actually competently watch a YouTube video and have Kenshi running at the same time. I still have an issue with, like, the frame rate dropping, but it's actually smoother, seems to be smoother than with the Zen kernel, which is interesting. I haven't tried any of the other schedulers as of yet, but it does have like MooQSS, Cacule, and the Undead PDS, which is basically what PDS used to be. They found that with BMQ, there were some things that didn't quite work, it says here, and they just kind of kept it around because it works just slightly better. Anyway, so yeah, TKG, I'm messing with that as it's not set up as my main kernel, but it has a lot of the same stuff that the Zen kernel has, and it's got these optional tweaks that you can mess with on your own, like mod probe. Again, the Zenify is on by default, Anbox support, and I think if you have the Zenify stuff on, Anbox support will be on by default, ZFS, so on and so forth. You can kind of go through the customization CFG and see what's available. It actually has it pretty decently documented what it does and what options you have for each one. So you could go through like hardened kernel even, I think config file for the hardened kernel. So like you could have a hardened kernel or whatever. Let's see. So if you leave any of these blank, it's just going to go with the default. So here's your what? Oh, that's your interval option. So depending on the scheduler you pick, you can decide like what your intervals are going to be. Tick list, blah, blah, blah. Where's my Zenify true? Again, default. And then it's got like different options for if you pick a certain scheduler. So you can tweak the scheduler itself, of course. Where was that? Hello? WineSync, you can, so the kernel supports WineSync. If you really want that, you can enable that for, an experimental replacement for eSync requires patched Wine. So if your version of Wine, which I think most of them should support that by now, especially I would think Gloria Segrel would support, that stuff. So you can try that out. Where was it? CPU scheduler. So you've got UPDS, which is the TKG's undead PDS, then PDS, BMQ, MUX, Calcul, and CFS, the default. You can, of course, choose a different one when you're going through the setup. So if I go through, let's go into projects, GitHubs, TKG, Linux TKG. So I can go make package-si, and so it pulls up this thing. I can pick the version that I want, and I have not updated my kernel. I'm on 6.0.9 with this one. Pick your scheduler, whichever one you want. Doesn't look like it has no. It does have Bohr as an option. Doesn't have undead Oh, yeah. So it'll ask you to pick a different one if the one that you have in the config is not set. So it'll ask you for a different one. So if I were picking an older kernel, then yeah, that would be my option. I can go, what was it? I had 2, I think. And then you'll go through, boom. So I don't want to do that. So yeah, that's basically the process you'll go through. If something doesn't quite work in your customization, it'll kind of take you through the different options that you have with the kernel version that you picked. And yeah, you've got plenty of options for your kernels. So yeah, TKG, we'll see what it's like after a month. I'll probably do it in a month from now or a month from upload, one of the two. But I've already been with it for about a week and a half, and it's been kind of okay. If you enjoyed the video, then like, comment, subscribe, feed the algorithm, boost the video up, share this video with your friends. If you found it informative or you just want to chat, I've got plenty of places in the description, Discord, Guilded, and what have you. Check those out, and I will see you guys in the next one.